Welcome, everyone, to the Four Stars Podcast Fall 2024 media availability here today. First off, just wanted to say thank you for being here. It's a real pleasure. Lauren, if you want to introduce yourself and then go from there, that'd be awesome.
Hello, coaches. My name is Lauren. I'm just going to be mediating those meetings, these Zooms for us today. Thank you all for being here. And we're just going to start with each of your opening statements. So just introduce yourself and what you're excited for, looking forward to this fall, this season. Thank you for being here for the media and the coaches. So we can start with Dartmouth.
Hey everybody, I'm John Graves, head coach at Dartmouth. It's my second year, and we are excited to be back. We just finished out our you're kind of middle of our third week back, so we start a little bit later, and it's been fun just kind of getting the team back together and getting into consistent training. And our first race is this weekend, a home race called the Gardner Cup, which is kind of typically an internal race, but this year we have Radcliffe lightweights coming up for a race. Men are racing BU and the lightweights are racing Wesleyan. So it's kind of a fun weekend of racing. And we're actually celebrating 50th anniversary of Dartmouth women's rowing this year. So it's kind of a fun alumni weekend. So yeah, definitely some good excitement here and a good young group that's working hard and excited for the year ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, coach. We can move over to Cornell.
Steve Coppola. This is year 5 for me, I think. Anyways, we've been back for a little bit. Last weekend, we had our annual fall class day regatta, with the juniors kind of taking the top prize and the sophomores coming up nipping at their heels. So it's just been fun being back, and I think the team is really excited to putting in the work, and I'm looking forward to seeing how that turns out when we get to do some external stuff.
Awesome. Thank you, coach. We can move over to Princeton.
Hi, I'm Lori Dauphiny. I'm the head women's rowing coach at Princeton, and I've been around for a long time. It's going to be my 35th season. We have a good team this year. It's fun to welcome them back this fall. We started about 4 weeks ago. So far, only practicing, no racing. Our first race will be the Head of the Charles, which is coming up pretty fast. We have, I think, a very eager and motivated team. We have a big senior class of 12 student athletes who are providing great leadership and have really set a nice tone to start out. I'm looking forward to how things develop. Right now, it's too early to tell, but I see the team working hard and together, and I'm excited about the opportunities we'll have in the future.
Awesome. Thank you, coach. We can move over to Yale.
Yeah, hi, Will Porter. I'm in my 27th year here at Yale. Team's back. We're in week 5 of training. We are the smallest team in the Ivy League, once again, probably. And we're sort of a lean group working hard. And it's a good team. They're excited to train. That's always fun. Don't need to motivate them too much or at all. So just working on their skill and building power. So it's a good group.
Awesome. Thank you, coach. We'll pass this along to media so they can open up for questions. Media, I would like you just to introduce yourself before you ask a question at the very beginning. And if you do have questions, you can just raise your hand on the Zoom. We can start with Fergus.
Thanks, Lauren. Hi, Fergus Mainland with JRN and the End of the Island podcast from the UK. We're really excited. We're flying out to Head of the Charles in a couple of weeks, so very keen to hear from all of the programs who are racing there. How preparation has gone for it, and how some of your crews are going to be shaping up as to whether or not you're going to be doing ranked crews or whether you've got set orders by this point in the season.
Dartmouth has a pretty big contingent going this year. We only had a Club 8 and a Club 4 last year, or a Champ 4 as well. We got a Champ 8, Champ 4, 2 Club 8s and a Club 4 going this year. So kind of a big contingent going down, and just excited to get a lot of people experience at the Head of the Charles. Like I think for most of us, we kind of think of the Charles as a celebration of the sport, and we definitely want to, it feels like it's a race that one bad turn and you can kind of wish you had never gone to the race. But I think for us, like, it's just an exciting time to put our best foot forward. And so yeah, we'll be kind of going Champ 8 as our top boat, Champ 4 our second boat, Club 8, Club 4 after that, and then second Club 8 after that. So so yeah, just trying to, I think for us, really cool to get to match up in the Champ 8 with our Varsity 8 crew this year. So I'm just excited to kind of, yeah, go up against all these great crews in the Ivy League and in the country in general, and just kind of give our team a sense of the speed and an honest look at that. The Charles can, like I said, sometimes be for a lot of different reasons not provide that, but it still should be a really fun weekend.
I can jump in, I guess. This is Lori. We're bringing 2 championship 8s, a champ 4 and a club 8. And we haven't set any lineups at this point. We're actually far from it, but some of it will be dependent on who's eligible for the club 8, because there are more restrictions for that boat. So it's not necessarily going to have a ranking in that regard. I mean, we'll probably put our best foot forward in that champ 8, but otherwise it will depend somewhat on eligibility for us in terms of the lineups. And we're really excited. I mean, I always think of the head of the Charles as a parade on the water, to celebrate our sport as well. Don't know, the results are always pretty wacky for us, but it's a lot of fun. So I'm glad that we're able to bring such a big group.
Cornell is on the smaller side. We're just bringing a Champ 4 this year. It's a little bit of a ranked crew. It's not set yet, but it's always, when you're traveling with that small of a squad, it's hard on the team to peel out 4 people from the overall training and trying to get ready for the team regatta that we go to up in Saratoga the following week. Will be so hopefully for us, we're starting in the kind of the meat of the pack there, and the general expectation is to earn a qualifying spot for the following year on that. And we'll be hopefully riding some good luck and some highs. We're going to be racing a boat that we'll be dedicating and named after one of our captains from the late 90s, who's going in a pretty tough battle with cancer right now. So hopefully we can give her a good showing in that hull to really rep that and provide some fight for that.
We have 3 8s going. We have 2 championship 8s and a club 8 entry. I agree with everybody. The Head of Charles is a lot of fun. It's a great festival of rowing. I will say, from a coaching perspective, it kind of annoys me. I do not like to select, and I certainly don't like to train with that intention. So we try to minimize the impact on training and just sort of, like, I liked Lori's expression, put our best foot forward on that day, sort of, kind of put the combinations together. We do not seat race. We do not select for the Charles. We'll put a combination forward, and 3 out of our 4 8s will be racing up there. So in some capacity, we have mixed results. Last year we had for us, a historic day up there. We got, I think, very lucky, and the rowing gods gave us one. But then it's the curse of if you go fast up there, then maybe that's not a good thing for your spring speeds, as it turned out. So we'll see, we'll see how it goes, but love the Charles. It's a lot of fun. It's a homecoming event for our sport. And I do think that every athlete should have a chance, in our program, to run down the Charles with a Y on their back and have that pride and that excitement. So we try to take as many students up there as we can. But we have I guess I'll throw it out there. We have a saying in our boathouse: it's the biggest regatta that nobody cares about at the end of the season. So you're not judged on the Head of the Charles. You're judged on the end of the year stuff. So yeah.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. Fraser, did you have a question as well?
Yes, to all of you, but particularly coaches Porter and Dauphiny. There's a lot of new faces in the Ivy League, and old faces in new places elsewhere in the sport. But Brown, the Murphys retiring from Brown has left the two of you as the elder statespeople of Ivy League women's rowing. How do you, first of all, do you have anything to say about their career? And secondly, how do you view yourself of having a leadership role almost within the group of coaches you work?
Well, John and Phoebe are, I don't even, they are some of the best coaches that I know, best coaches in the league. They held us all to a standard. They really, they continue to press that standard, to increase that standard as we grew as a league in the NC2A. We became an NC2A sport in '97, and I think Brown was at the forefront. Like they won one team championship after another. I think have the best record at the NC2A championship. So they really raised the bar. And for that, I am extremely grateful. And I was, it was an honor to coach beside them, to compete against them, and to work with them. It was a true pleasure. So I think they will be greatly missed in our sport. What's the second half to that question? Oh, our leadership. Yeah, I'm not sure. I have been part of the league for some time, along with Will. I imagine that we'll continue our role of just trying to do our best to, bring history into the meetings and sessions that we have, our experiences as well. But I know that the young crop of coaches that are a part of our league are great leaders as well, and have a breadth of experience. So I'm eager to learn from them too.
In regards to Brown and John and Phoebe, they're fierce competitors, and there's no replacing them in our sport, not just in the league. I always said, I think one of the biggest compliments you can give to a coach is that they exceed the talent. Their results exceed the talent that's in their boathouse. And that's nothing against the Brown athletes, because they're great athletes, but John and Phoebe always seem to be able to get a little bit more out of the talent that was in that boathouse, which was a remarkable quality that they had as coaches. And it wasn't once or twice, it was consistently always. They were very much, for me coming in as a young coach, they were the standard. And I worked my tail off to be able to be at that level. And then when I got at that level, then it became really exciting. And then it became very heated. But we're gonna miss them, no question. Gonna miss the presence that they brought to all the regattas that they were at. Their teams were represented, and I think represented them as leaders so well. As far as the league, and first of all, I don't think of myself as old. So I feel pretty young. Don't let the mustache fool you. Listen, people have been talking in other leagues about the demise of the Ivy League for as long as I've been in it. And, we're still here. And the thing you have to understand about the Ivy League, and especially when all this money talk and everything else is being thrown around, our sport is a work sport. It's not a money sport. It requires a lot of money to run at a high level, which I don't think there's any shortage of in our league. And so, I'm excited for these young coaches to come in, get their footing, and raise the level again. There's nothing that's out of reach for us as a league. There just isn't. When in our sport, other sports, yeah, that might be a different story. But in the sport of rowing, we have all the necessities for speed, which are facilities, access to athletes, and equipment, water. We have everything that we absolutely need to go fast. So I'm excited for the future. No question.
Awesome. Thank you, coaches. Opening it back up to the press for any more questions. Fergus?
Yeah, one for John at Dartmouth. Just very keen to hear a bit more about what you've got planned this year, in terms of celebrations of the program and what this year means to everyone who's on the program this academic year.
Yeah, it's a good question. I think when I came in last year, I just felt like we could do a better job of bringing everyone who's been involved with Dartmouth women's rowing together. So it was kind of like, my background. I trained a long time up in Craftsbury, Vermont, so I've known Judy Gear for a long time. She's about, one of the toughest, female athletes I can think of, and I've been lucky enough to learn from her and have her be a mentor for a long time. So kind of picking her brain about, the history of the program, the different eras, the five decades of Dartmouth women's rowing, and it felt like we kind of were all fragmented a little bit and needed something to unify over, and it was kind of just happenstance that this year, was the 50th, and we could kind of plan something out. So a few of the alumni kind of helped pitch in, and it's been a big planning process. And yeah, my goal in it is to kind of have everybody feel like they're part of the current team and have a pulse on the current team and really feel like they can be involved with our day to day and do a better job, just doing a better job keeping people engaged and informed and excited and enthusiastic about the future of the program. So I think that's what this weekend's about, bringing people together. We've had a big fundraising push for bringing more small boats to the program. So that's been another initiative for this weekend of getting a bunch of singles for the team and really having like sculling, especially in the fall, be something that we're spending a lot of time doing. So yeah, Judy and others have been instrumental in that. So yeah, that's kind of what we're thinking about, and just trying to set the program up for success in the future with a really strong backing, and having the current athletes feel like they have people outside of the boathouse that are pulling for them and supporting their efforts. Because that, I don't know, I think that's something that, listening to Will talk is definitely inspiring, because I think that's another thing that we have in spades in the Ivy League, is just people that care deeply about all these programs, care deeply about the longevity of the programs, and ensuring that experience is always going to be there for the student athletes. So yeah, we just wanted to do a better job of that at Dartmouth.
Is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall. Hello, coaches. My name is Lauren. I'm just going to be mediating those meetings, these Zooms for us today. Thank you all for being here, and we're just going to start with each of your opening statements. So just introduce yourself and what you're excited for, looking forward to this fall, the season. Thank you also for being here for the media and the coaches. So we can start with Clemson.
Hi, I'm Adrienne. I'm the new head coach at Clemson. Yeah, we've been having a great season so far. Just trying to get everybody on the same page and have an awesome staff, and the team has been awesome to work with so far, and just really motivated to get better every single day, and been having a lot of fun with it. So yeah, that's us.
Thank you. We can move over to Notre Dame.
Hi, I'm Martin Stone, and I'm the women's rowing coach at Notre Dame. I'm not new. I've been here a long time, so I think we're pretty excited about this upcoming year. I think our ACC performance late last season generated a lot of momentum within the team, and maybe a little bit more buy-in on what we were trying to change, and with our training and our rowing stroke. So I think that's helped propel us. I think people came back fairly fit, and we don't race much. We scrimmage this weekend against Michigan State, and that's our only fall regatta. And then we get ready as we're all preparing to race in the spring. So overall, pretty excited.
Thank you, Coach. Now we can go to SMU.
Guys, it's Chase Graham, head coach at SMU. Super excited, and year 2 at SMU for me. So a lot different coming in this year than last year. Coming off of our team's 4th consecutive conference championship, returning 21 athletes from that group. I got 20 newcomers and 16 freshmen and 4 transfers. So excited to blend this group together and see what we can do this year, and the first year in the ACC. Obviously, I was, well, for some that don't know, I was at Duke for 8 years, so stepped out of the ACC for a year, so very excited to be back in it with a great group and 12 really strong teams. Not racing a lot this fall, externally, internally we are, but heading down to Austin to race Texas in early November, so very excited for that. Yeah, look forward to the year ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. We'll pass this along to media so they can open up for questions. Media, I would like you just to introduce yourself before you ask a question at the very beginning. And if you do have questions, you can just raise your hand on the Zoom. We can start with Fraser.
Hello, Fraser Ennis, JRN from across the pond, as you might be able to tell. A lot of new faces in the ACC coaches meeting this year, both from sort of new people in new places, as well as new places that we're calling Atlantic Coast this year. How has it been? How have you got any words for your new conference rivals, and how has it been welcoming them in to the fold in this sport where coaches tend to work a lot more together than they do in, say, football?
I guess I was the only one that was on one of the coaches meeting last year. I think we understand that, like, it's great for our conference to have these three teams in. And I think as we planned almost a year ago, trying to look at the 2025 regatta and what it would look like, and with great cooperation and figure it out. Now we're the largest, we become the largest conference championship. 12 teams, and what the format was going to look like. And we decided it would be two heats of 6, top 3 advanced, just like the normal regatta. Just now, we realize that seeding becomes super important, and the speed of the regatta is going to pick up a little bit, right? So, but like I think on rowing, as you said, we cooperate very well with one another all the time. So, it's great. So, and so welcome to Adrienne coming in, right? And Chase coming back. So that's so yeah. So on that part, I think it's great, and I think we're all looking forward to the speed of the regatta.
And for the coaches who are new or somewhat new, I know you're both well acquainted with the ACC, though perhaps not with the head coach's hat on in your case, Adrienne. How have you coming to expect this ACC, this faster, more furious ACC?
Yeah, I mean, I think part of being in this sport is the desire to compete. And I think being in a fast conference is where we want to be. Like, really, for anyone coming in, we want to have the depth and the excitement of the conference. And so, like, I'm excited to be a part of it. We're hosting it this year, which will be fun. That's new. Coming in first year. But yeah, I'm just really excited. Having come from Cal, and now they're coming into the ACC, it's just a very deep field, and SMU coming in and Stanford coming in. And, one thing, even within our athletic department, we've talked a lot about is just, we want to be amongst the best. And so we can't shy away from being amongst the best. And so I think it really pushes all the programs forward a lot. And I'm excited to be in it and, see where this whole league goes. So
Fergus, you can ask.
Thank you. Fergus Mainland, also from across in the UK, as you can probably tell again by the accent. I've got one question for each of you respectively, and perhaps starting with SMU. Very keen to hear first of all from you how you found your Henley experience upon reflection, and what lessons you think you're able to take into this new season.
Yeah, great question. Thanks for bringing that up. Yeah, it was SMU's first trip to Henley Women's and Henley Royal Regatta. It was an amazing experience for our team just to be in that environment, that atmosphere around those athletes. So I think it opened up their, just eyes to a whole new world, and it really encouraged them. And just they brought the level up a lot, I think, from NCAAs to Henley. We were able to see some similar competition there and really close the gap. So it was amazing for us. We look forward to going back when we can. And just look forward to hopefully, kind of seeing what we can translate from that to the racing this spring.
And for Clemson, obviously making the trip to ahead of the Charles in a couple of weeks' time, what are you hoping to get out of that particular event? And in terms of selection, are you sending a clear-cut varsity boat, or what sort of rankings or orders have you got at this point in the season?
Yeah, for sure. So in terms of going there, I think it's a great opportunity again to compete, to bring a little bit of fire early into the season and like fully transparent, like, we're never going to be 100% prepared this early in the season. Like it's just way too early. But I think it's a great experience just by and large. It is such a celebration of rowing at Head of the Charles. So I think it's a fun event. I think the team has been working really hard, and I think it's a good test and reward just to see where we are and have an opportunity to line up and take some hard strokes and kind of deal with the challenges of racing and traveling and kind of learn those lessons early on. In terms of the selection, it'll be pretty short, and I'm sure nothing will be perfect in that space. But we'll get close. And then again, I think the bigger part of it is just going and taking hard strokes and racing, as opposed to putting a lot of weight on it as like, this is the 1V or this is the 2V. Yeah, it's just a means of kind of running through a little bit of selection, having that inter squad competition, people striving to actually make the trip, like all of those kinds of things. So that's the way I look at it, not trying to put too much emphasis on it. It's a great experience, and then we come back and we train some more. So that's kind of how it goes.
And Martin, for you at Notre Dame, you were saying you haven't got a particularly busy racing schedule in the fall. Is that reflective of more racing in the spring, or what's the thought process behind not a huge amount of racing between now and Christmas?
A little bit of both. So we put more of our resources into the spring, so we'll travel nationally during the spring season. So that puts a little bit of strain. And I just felt that we've kind of gotten away from a lot of head racing in the fall over the last number of years, and it seems to work for us, right? And it allows us to train, and we're not worried about selection. And like if we were to go to that Charles, because it also happens to fall, it would be on our fall break, we would have had to select like 2 weeks ago, and so people can make plans and whatnot. So we can, like, we'll go to San Diego this year, so we're going to put our resources into going that, and that we can take more people for about the same cost. So that's kind of our philosophy, is we just try to train as much as we can in the fall and not worry so much about the head racing.
Awesome. Fraser?
Coach Graham, you arrived at SMU last year, and obviously there was, as has much been discussed, it was a very different sort of environment in the athletes many of whom graduating, a number of whom transferring out. I don't want to rehash that. How is it this fall been different for you, having a more set in place, athletes bringing in that you've recruited? How's that differed from your experience 12 months ago?
That's a great question. Well, yeah, last year when we came in, we had to refortify the team, and you had a lot of people kind of put into roles that they weren't into before previously, whether that be like leadership wise, or a kid that was in the varsity 4 now in your varsity 8. So just different role changes that the upperclassmen had to undergo, and a lot of the freshmen last year were put under a lot more probably pressure, I'd say, in year 1. Hence we're returning 21 kids from our conference championship team last year. So that's a really good thing, that we're having. They got that kind of experience last year, and they were able to really, I think, fortify that with our extended season into NCAAs and Henley Royal Regatta. We got an extra, couple more months out of it. So they grew up a lot. And then I think we put a really nice recruiting class together and some good transfers that came in that I think are having a great impact right away. Just amazing attitudes, work ethic, skill level. A couple kids coming in with, world championship experience. Kids that won Henley Women's or Henley Royal Regatta. So those guys are blending in really well. And so we're really focused on that right now through small boat rowing. So just kind of creating like, hey, we're jumping in the pair today. We're going to iron out some things in a long steady state. Tomorrow we're going to do some 4Ks racing, and then kind of rinse, wash, repeat every other week with that. And it's been fantastic, just a real breath of fresh air and a lot of fun. Whereas last year it felt like more maybe at the bottom of the hill, kind of working up like, hey, we're coming off of 3 conference championships. The pressure was on us, or maybe not on us, as some might have said, hey, it's going to be really hard. But we didn't kind of change our goal, and we were able to get that done. So definitely different in a lot of ways. I'm also, not moving houses and not putting a staff together. So, got a great staff this year, big staff. We hired, we've got 6 full-time coaches and 2 GAs. So just resources wise, we're in a really good spot. And so, yeah, enjoying the ride so far and look forward to seeing what we can do.
Hudson?
I know I'm hosting this thing, but I got some questions for myself. I got a question for Adrienne. I know that obviously you're coming into Clemson and it's a new atmosphere, different team for you. But the athletes that were on the team last year, obviously coming in this year, very similar question to Fergus with Chase, but just wondering how that's been, noticing those leaders on the team and how they've helped out the team, grow, and even like the novices from last year, seeing, maybe that now they're varsity athletes, full on, not like walk-ons or whatnot, but just full-time athletes, seeing how that's been for the program.
I guess coming into this, you never know what you're going to get. Like, you don't know what the culture of the team is going to be like. And so I got hired end of June, and I had a little bit of a crazy summer. I was helping coach the Olympic team, so I was all over the place. But in that time, I was like, hey, like if you're on the team, let's FaceTime, Zoom call, like, because I just wanted to get to know everybody before we actually got here in August and try to hit the ground running a little bit more. And I feel exceptionally fortunate that it's just a great group of young women, and they have been so open and receptive to change and getting better. They want to be faster. They really want to put their all into it. And so I've had a great time. And, I think there have been natural leaders on the team. And so we have, kind of a leadership council that has been great, but there's also just people throughout the whole team who I think are very welcoming of new athletes, like our new freshmen and walk-ons. And then, also just, hey, this is what Clemson's about. This is what, we want our team to be like. And I think there's been a lot of ownership in what they want to create. And a lot of belief in what we're trying to do as a staff. And I can't complain at all. Like, they've just been awesome to work with. And I feel also on the other side of it really fortunate with the staff that we have, and they believe as much in the program as I do, and they're just awesome to work with. So I'm part of it, but it really is like our whole staff is a part of it too.
Awesome. Hudson, do you have another question?
Yes, I got tons, but I'm not going to ask everybody. I will also be here for hours. But my question goes back to Chase. Obviously now with your team fully in the ACC, we talked last year about kind of like the facilities and the upgrades of, dining halls even for the athletes. What's that been like for your recruiting, pitching to all these athletes? What do you guys have to offer now at SMU?
Yeah, that's a great question. We opened up the new Flanagan training table maybe a month ago. It's been amazing. It's in our new Weber End Zone complex. I've never seen anything like it. It's incredible. It's massive and very high level, I'd say, dining options. So the athletes are really happy with it. It's going really well. So that's been really good for us. And then we are we're working on the new locker room, new erg room for our team, which hopefully will be open by the mid-year. So that's going to be a fantastic space for our team. So hopefully we can show that off at some point later. But as far as like the school, giving us resources and really supporting us as a program, I couldn't be more happy, and look forward to, kind of showing that stuff off when the time is right.
For Martin, the crew class, like you mentioned, is a great race for your team. I know that obviously SMU is there as well, and a bunch of other teams, right? But wondering if that's going to be like the biggest race in the spring season for you guys. If you guys have any other, maybe invite race that you're going to this year that maybe see, more teams, and how Notre Dame competes against the pack that way.
I think it's going to be kind of up until that point, it'll be the biggest race. We'll start in Oak Ridge and then go to San Diego. And then we're going to participate in the Big Ten invite. So that will be Pretty much sure that's almost everybody, it seems like. And then I think we're going to we'll race Indiana, and then at the end, the ACCs, and the ACCs is going to be our biggest race. But I think probably the amount of racing and crossover that will come from the Big Ten invite late in the season will have a critical impact on any at-large bids for the NCAA. So I think that's the one right there.
Just a quick one to Notre Dame and Clemson, similar to what Hudson was asking. Obviously, SMU came to Henley Royal, made the trip over. We heard the benefits of that from them. Can we expect either of your respective programs either next year or in the not too distant future coming over?
I don't think us. I'm trying to figure out a different time to come over, but probably not to Henley. So it just falls at a bad time for our kids who have careers, and that summertime, that late July, or early July, late June, early July would be it's really tough on them. So
Maybe in the future, to be perfectly honest, that is something for me to think about in a little bit of time. I do think Henley is awesome. I love just like celebrations of rowing, and I think it is such a cool experience. And if we had the opportunity to do it, it would be awesome to do. But again, I think that's down the line for me a little bit. So.
Thank you, Coach. Is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall. Hello, coaches. My name is Lauren. I'm just going to be mediating those meetings, these Zooms for us today. Thank you all for being here, and we're just going to start with each of your opening statements. So just introduce yourself and what you're excited for, looking forward to this fall, the season. Thank you for being here for the media and the coaches. So we can start with Michigan.
My name is Mark Rothstein. It's been 31 years at Michigan. Yeah, always an exciting time of the year. We got a lot of new faces, and I think they're working hard. It's a good group, so having a lot of fun.
Thank you, Coach. We can move to Rutgers.
Thanks, Lauren. Justin Price. I'm in my 8th season here at Rutgers, and we're celebrating our 50th anniversary this year of women's rowing here at Rutgers. So we're super excited. Had a great 50th anniversary celebration a couple weekends ago. Got a lot of our alumni back, so it was awesome and an honor to have them back. And we're fired up with the current 2024-25 squad. And we're excited for the newcomers, and excited to have UCLA, USC, and Washington in the conference this year. And to go from 8 schools to 11 is just awesome for the conference. So we're fired up and excited to have them, and excited we have so much pride in being part of the Big Ten. So excited for that. And then, it's new year, new team for us, and getting all our newcomers and everybody just like, hey, we're working on the basics this time of year, and just getting the fundamentals and the foundation laid for what we hope is a great year ahead.
Thank you. We'll move on to UCLA now.
This is Previn, Chandraratna. Good to see you all. Just super excited to move into the Big Ten, and just wanted to say thanks to Hudson for setting this up and into the Big Ten, and everyone's been so welcoming. So it's been a really great transition so far. In terms of our season, it's very early. We're on the quarter system, so it's just the first few days on the water. But all things are looking good. We have a great set of seniors and juniors that are setting the tone. Some great captains that are super proactive. We have a really exciting first-year class that just is showing a lot of coachability and work ethic, and a lot of times resumes don't translate onto the rowing team as we see sometimes, but they're good eggs. And then you kind of couple that with, our coaching staff. We've kind of rounded that out. I've been at UCLA for 10 years. I mean, maybe the 3rd or 4th year here, depending on how you count interim coaching as a head coach. And then, we have over 65 years of experience on the staff. So it's just really cool to have a good group together. And we're just excited about the year ahead.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. We'll go to USC now.
I'm Kelsie Chaudoin. This is my first year as the head coach at the University of Southern California. And there's been a lot of learning happening for all of us. We have on the roster, our roster is made up of about 50% freshmen. So between them and then our entirely new coaching staff, there's just a lot of really open minds that are like sponges. They're so hungry for information. They're really excited to learn. I feel like the team has really been embracing the new coaching staff, which I've been excited to see. It was definitely a concern of mine of all of these changes for the team, but they've just been embracing it, excited to learn. We've been spending a lot of time in small boats out on the Port of LA. We've been going out in pairs 3, 4, 5, 6 times a week. And it's just been a great learning opportunity for them. And I have to say, our staff is actually really excited about the water. That's been a really pleasant surprise for us as a new staff on the Port of LA, is just the water there and how far you could just go and just get good training, good fitness in. And yeah, really open minds. We're excited about the season and grateful to be working with these athletes and the staff that I have.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. We'll pass this along to media so they can open up for questions. Media, I would like you just to introduce yourself before you ask a question at the very beginning. And if you do have questions, you can just raise your hand on the Zoom. We can start with Fergus.
Thanks. Hi, coaches. Fergus Mainland from the End of the Island podcast, JRN, over in the UK. I've kind of got one for all of you, so I'll just sort of work my way around the room if that works all right. Mark, perhaps starting with you. Obviously, ahead of the Charles coming up in a couple of weeks' time, and you're sending athletes there to go and race. What are you hoping to get out of that race, sort of midway through October?
I mean, really, it's an event we go to because well, 2 reasons. One is the athletes really love it. It's not very often you get to row in front of that many people. Granted, many of them aren't really paying attention, but they're there, and it's a lot of people, and it's just a cool event. So that's the primary reason we go. And then the other reason is we send one boat, so it gives some incentive for people to come back in shape and train hard to be in a position to make that boat. So other than that, I don't put a whole lot of stock into it. It's yeah, I don't personally like the race very much, but the athletes love it. So, and it's not about me. So yeah, that's why we go. It's just such a great event.
Justin, you touched on sort of a big celebration year for Rutgers. What does that mean to you as a coaching staff, and what more have you got planned for the rest of the year?
Yeah, well, it's just an honor. I think, first and foremost, like, it's something that we talk about all the time. Every year we talk about making sure that we honor the legacy of those who have come before us and paved the way. But it was just really special to have like the people in the room, because we talk about it and it's a concept and an idea most of the time. But to actually have the people and get our current student athletes to get to meet many of those women who came before and worked really hard to pave the way was just incredible, and it brought it to life, in a way that we've never really had before. So I think we just feel really honored. We have a couple of alums on the staff, Olivia Betts and Shannon Haynes, who are 2 of those great women that have come before us. So I think that, on behalf of the staff, like, to have people who are part of that tradition on the staff, and then to be able to work with this next generation. We just want to make sure that in year 50 that we can like really make sure everybody's really proud that has come before us, and try to take it to another level. And we always try to keep in mind like paving the way for the next 50 years and those to come, and we want to make it better because of the work that we did, right now. So in terms of, things that are planned, like we just want to continue to invite, not everybody, obviously, all of our alums were certainly not able to be back. So we want to continue to invite them and encourage them to come back to join us, whether it's for practice or cheering us on the race course this fall or in the spring. And yeah, there's nothing particular that we have planned. This was really the big thing that we wanted to kick off the year with. We did a few boat dedications and things like that. So all of our NCAA boats were just christened and dedicated at our formal celebration that we had a couple weeks ago. But there will be things as we move into the spring season that we'll do to honor year number 50 in special ways.
Kelsie, sort of a big year for Rutgers, but a big year for USC with you moving into the head coaching position. What are you hoping to bring to the program, and what are you hoping that USC rowing will look like in 12 months' time after you've had a full year there?
Yeah, one thing coming in that was abundantly clear about the way this team operates is that they care deeply about one another. Like, freshmen and seniors are friends, sophomores and seniors are friends, that it's not a cliquey team. It's a smaller team for the Big Ten. We only have a roster of 50 people. So it was abundantly clear that they get along really well and that the Trojan family is alive and well on the team at USC. I think the next evolution of that, though, is just bringing a competitive fire to it. That it's like, okay, that's great that we get along, but the next evolution of that is because I care about you, I'm pushing you. Because I care about you, I have high standards for you. Because I care about you, I'm not accepting anything less than your best. And if I did, that would be me doing you a disservice. And so just leaning into that from a place of belief instead of a place of, you're not good enough. It's like, yeah, you are good enough. And that's why I'm holding you to this standard. So I think that that's the next evolution of what this team can be. And I mean, candidly, like I said, we have a young team. So 12 months time, I hope that the athletes on this team, because it's about 50% freshmen, that they understand how to be a Division I athlete, that they like have their feet under them. They understand what it is to be a Division I athlete. And yeah, that's the biggest thing. Cause I think there's, like I said, a lot of learning that's happening, and it's happening really quickly, which is exciting for our staff to see. But there's a lot of learning that needs to continue to happen this year. So yeah, excited to be part of the process. And they have such open minds about what that could be. And it's been really exciting for our staff to watch how quickly they're improving. So
In terms of this year for UCLA moving into Big Ten, obviously the Big Ten championship last year and some of the racing between the schools was incredibly tight. What are you expecting in terms of coming into a brand new conference and perhaps racing some programs that you didn't race so much in years gone by?
We're excited to see kind of a new conference and some new opponents. It's certainly, we love the Pac-12, and it was kind of the end of an era as we kind of discussed it when it was closing up. But I think that in many ways the West Coast crews are kind of underrated, or you don't see a lot of them because there's a lot of discussion about the East Coast rowing. And now I think that with the UCLAs and USCs and Washingtons kind of more in the mix in these Midwestern races, you're just going to get more excitement about the sport generally. And I think that's a great thing. And we certainly have already, had our nose in the fire, and I think our athletes are up for the challenge.
Fraser, you have a question?
Yeah, this is largely to our two Los Angeles-based coaches. With a new conference comes a lot of new things, but one of the most notable things about the Big Ten is the size of the conference championship in terms of simply the squad that you bring. How does that differ where you've got 51 seats, I think it is, going to your conference championships in the spring? How does that differ when you're sort of planning your squad and motivating athletes?
In my conversations, I mean, I'll just put it out there. I don't know if I should be saying this or not, but in my conversations with our administrators, given the challenging admissions at USC and just the way that we're looking at our team, is we're looking more at being in a place where we're focusing, of course, the whole team matters, but we're focusing in a bit more on our NCAA championship lineups than fielding a second novice 8, just because I don't know that's what makes the most sense at USC. So ultimately, like, our focus is on qualifying for NCAAs more so than building out a second novice 8, just because, and also for me as a new head coach at USC, I felt like the juice wasn't worth the squeeze in building out a big novice walk-on program in my first year, but maybe that's something we look into in the future. But at present, we're more focused on the whole team contributing to the speed of the NCAA lineups. So
yeah, I would say on our end, it's a bit both end. I agree that the NCAA boats is the foremost priority, but we also respect the breadth of the regatta at the Big Ten Championship, and we've really have had some more notice than Kelsie. We've been on this for a couple of years now, knowing this transition is coming. So we've really tried to, make our roster more robust. When I first started working at UCLA, as opposed to now, like, our returning roster is nearly double. So we've really tried to increase the size of our recruiting classes. I don't know, on the West Coast, you get a little less squeeze out of the walk-on pool, so we have upped our numbers, and yeah, we're excited about the depth, and I think we can compete at that level. But yeah, I think it's true that we really need to keep our eye on the ball in terms of those top boats as well.
And a question for Mark, if I may. Your team, well, there's great returning talent to a lot of teams. Your in a lucky position of having Olympic talent returning to the boathouse for the fall. How are you leaning on these athletes as leaders to lead their colleagues?
Yeah, so you're referring to Abby Dent, who took a year off last year and won a silver medal for Canada in the 8 and just had a great year. I mean, I remember talking to her about it, and she didn't really want to take a year off. Or she was kind of on the fence, and I was like, look, it's the Olympics. Like, if you have a shot, go for it. And we talked about maybe if it's not going well in the fall, you can come back in January. But she was doing so well, we were pretty confident she had a shot. So she kept at it, and she made the boat and ended up stroking it, I think a little bit by accident. They were at the World Cup and somebody was sick and the stroke seat was sick. So they put Abby in stroke and they won. So I think they kept her there. So, this is actually an interesting thing because I've never had this before. And I've talked to a lot of athletes and coaches because often it doesn't go well when people go to the Olympics and then they come back to school because, as you know, like I think the post-Olympic depression is a real thing and you put so much into it. They were doing 50K a day, every day, for week after week. And it's just like, that's all you're doing. And so I'm trying to find the right balance, and I've given her some time off this fall. She's rowed maybe 5 or 6 times. I'm trying to ease her back in, give her some downtime. And also she's got some opportunities to do some things because of her, success at the Olympics. So she's going to be doing some traveling to do some, she's volunteering at an event at a children's hospital, things like that. So, yeah. So I'm not really asking her to be a leader. I'm asking her to recover from the Olympics, kind of, do well in school and then get the joy of rowing back. And then she will definitely be a leader in the spring, but I think I'm trying to be really patient with it. I talked to our cross country coach who went through this. He was an Olympian in college and came back, and I asked him how much time he took off. He said none. He went right into cross country season. He said it was like the worst thing because he just was so he hated training by the end of that. So I'm really trying to be patient with Abby.
Just one perhaps for Justin and for Jeff. I mean, Mark, perhaps you've got thoughts on this as well. But with the Big Ten now growing substantially as it has done this year, as coaches who have been in this conference for a while, and we know it's a competitive conference, what impact do you think additional programs coming in would have in terms of the look for at-large bids for NCAAs? In terms of you have a good performance at the end at Big Tens, you'd quite often expect an at-large bid. So do you think additional programs coming in is going to impact that in any sort of way?
My hope is that it will just make it more competitive, and just raise the level across the board. At the end of the day, for our program, like we definitely aspire to be among the best teams in the country and would like to be able to be every year at the NCAA championships racing to be as high as we can. But we know we've got to earn that. And, like having an opportunity to race more teams that are at a higher level, we love it. It's awesome. And it's a great way to figure it out, and so hopefully for the NCAA committee, they really find it like, oh, this is useful that there's 11 teams all racing together. That helps them figure it out. Like, hey, who belongs, and, we just want to make sure like, hey, let's do the work to make sure hopefully we're one of them and we're in that conversation. And I think that with these new teams and with everybody else that's already been in the conference, it's going to continue to be at a really high level. And we're going to try to do our best to contribute to making sure the conference gets even better this year and beyond.
Yeah, I think just building off what Justin said, it's exciting to be a part of a conference now, right? Like it's kind of a super conference. You know, for years, it's always kind of been the Big Ten and the Pac-12. There was always conversations about who's the last team in from each conference to kind of, you know, finish out the field. But I think, you know, this year, and I don't think I'm exaggerating, I mean, on paper, we could have 7 teams in our conference that could potentially qualify for NCAAs. And if you think about that, it's like that's a third of the NCAA field could be rowing at the Big Ten championship every year, right? So exciting to be a part of it. Maybe a little bit daunting because you know your work's cut out for you every year, but you know, I'd challenge any conference to say that they're as competitive as we're going to be this year.
Thank you, Coach. Is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall. Hello, coaches. My name is Lauren. I'm just going to be mediating those meetings, these Zooms for us today. Thank you all for being here, and we're just going to start with each of your opening statements. So just introduce yourself and what you're excited for, looking forward to this fall, this season. Thank you for being here for the media and the coaches. So we can start with Old Dominion.
Yeah, hi, Brian Conley. Starting my 3rd year here at Old Dominion. I'm excited about the fall this year. We got a good group of freshmen that came in with our recruiting class and a decent group of walk-ons. And we've been spending a good amount of time just learning the new rowing stroke that we're trying to create here. And I think the athletes are starting to pick it up. And a lot of our veterans also came back in better shape than we've ever had them come back since I've been here. So that's always, I think every coach loves to sort of see that. And we're starting off with a relatively new staff as well this year. So there's a lot of new things happening here at ODU that I think are all for the positive, and I'm just seeing all good things sort of happen. We have a good solid race schedule too. We're starting off this weekend with the High Point Fall Festival that we got invited to. So we're doing a little bit of international racing against Oxford lightweights this weekend, along with the Ukrainian national team. So that's going to be an interesting little battle for us to take on that challenge. But that's where we're starting off this year, and I'm excited for it.
Thank you, Coach. We can hear from UCF next.
Hi, I'm Mara Allen, the head coach at UCF. We get into 20 hours next week, which we're really excited about. It's been a long, we've been going since about August 19th in 8 hours. So that's been a bit of a ride, but we've had a really great development over the last 7 weeks. We lost 10 seniors out of our top 20 last year. So that's been a pretty big replacement, but I've been really impressed with, it looks like so far, the people that have come back, and with the freshmen and the transfers we have, we're already pretty much at the same spot we were last year in terms of fitness. So hopefully that's going to transfer into boat speed, and we'll keep moving because these kids have been making some really big steps, and have been stepping up in a real way, which has been great. And then we scrimmage Miami at the end of the month, which will be really fun. We're going to go down and just go back and forth in some floors, kind of like a combined practice. And then we hunker down until our first scrimmage in February is against Iowa. Iowa's coming out, so we'll be hopefully quite prepared for them. And I'm really excited to get into 20-hour weeks. Thank you.
Thank you, Coach. We can hear from Tulsa next.
Yeah, thanks again for having us on. This is great. Yeah, I think the big thing for us, I think things just feel maybe a little more steady than they have the past couple years. Obviously, this is my 3rd year here, so first year just always the challenge is moving to a new city and getting accustomed to a new school and meeting the team and hiring a staff and all that sort of stuff. Last year we finished kind of rounding our staff vote when we hired Coach Grace, which was a great addition to our team. And we were just really lucky that all the coaches have come back this year. Even our grad assistant is back again, which is good to have. So it's just felt a little bit smoother getting going on the year starting. Another, I guess, kind of just a quick little highlight. We had 2 seniors that graduated last year. One that is back just doing degree completion this fall, and then one that's working here in Tulsa for the year, but they're helping out the team. One of them's kind of coaching the coxings and stuff like that, which we haven't had in the past, but it's just a great addition to the team. So other than that, not much. We've just been training for a couple of weeks now. We're heading to the head of the Oklahoma this weekend, which is always a fun one. We've just been kind of laughing because it's also the most brutal trailer loading experience of the entire year, and of course it's the first race you go to. So we're going to get through that, and then we'll head over and race for a day, and then come back and train for a few more weeks. And then we have a home race near the end of the fall, and then we'll head into 8 hours for a little while to finish the semester.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. We'll pass this along to media so they can open up for questions. Media, I would like you just to introduce yourself before you ask a question at the very beginning. And if you do have questions, you can just raise your hand on the Zoom. Fraser?
Fraser Venice, Junior Rowing News from across the pond, if my accent didn't betray me already. Coach Allen, UCF, you guys scrimmage an awful lot in that sort of February, March window. I imagine that's mostly due to, well, people come to you for spring break, so you might as well race them while they're down. But how do you find that sort of unique opportunity that really only 2 or 3 universities at the Division I level are offered? How do you find that opportunity benefits your team?
I mean, the scrimmages are great, especially in early February, where you don't have to come up to race speed. We don't have to be at 34 or 36 strokes a minute, but we get to see some outside competition. So with like Iowa, and I don't know what our plan with Texas will be, but with Iowa, we'll do a lot of like rate controlled side-by-side racing, which works well with our training plan, like the work we want to be doing in February. But then we also get to see how we're doing against other teams, which can be really eye-opening. It was for us last year. It was for us last year. We got pretty destroyed by Iowa in our scrimmage last year, and that was a big turning point for us. And like, okay, it's nice, and we think we're moving along well, and things are going well. But then when you get to really see, okay, how are we actually doing? Sometimes to face that mirror in February was enough time to pivot and make some changes and get better from there. So I feel really lucky that so many teams come to Florida to train so that we don't have to travel, but we can get that opportunity.
And more openly to the coaches, the Big 12 over the last 2 years has had a lot of change in the faces that we see. And I think, if my maths is correctly, we're currently in a conference with no program that's ever won a Big 12 championship before in rowing. So how do you view that as sort of, with all honesty, now Texas are gone, an easier to say route to an automatic qualifier? And is that sort of putting the fire in your teams that may see a more streamlined path to, I think it's New Jersey this year?
I'll start. I'll just say, I think what's really great about the realignment is it allows like schools to compete against like schools. And that is going to be really, I think, exciting and also incredibly competitive, which will make it, I think the fact that, yeah, no team that is going to be at the Big 12 championship has won it. Everyone is going to be like, everyone is thinking, okay, that could be us. And we can talk to our teams about that. And that will just make the conference that much more competitive and that much more exciting to be a part of, because it does feel like, yeah, we're no longer having to go up against the number 1 in athletic departments and maybe and also in rowing to get that automatic qualifier to NCAA. So there's going to be a lot on the line for Big 12s, and I think that makes it so much more exciting.
Yeah, I'd echo a lot of what Mara just said. I think it also adds to the fact of, I think it helps bring the whole sport up a little bit when you have more competitiveness amongst the teams within conferences. And I think that's what we're most excited about, is that, you know, we've seen an increase in speed with our team, and to the point where we feel we can compete now in the Big 12, and that's making us better, but it's also making, I think, the conference a little bit better at the same point. And as everybody gets faster, maybe Texas doesn't end up being at the number 1 all the time, right? But they're going to be hard to take down. But if the conferences are all getting better, there's no reason why the Big 12 can't readjust and be at the top again. So
yeah, I think the only thing I would add, just us here at Tulsa, we're just really grateful to the Big 12 conference for, you know, extending an invitation, inviting us in. I totally understood, you know, why the American was not sponsoring the sport anymore, but it obviously was disappointing for all of us. And you know, there's a slight period of, okay, what's next? So yeah, we're very thankful and just excited for this upcoming year and the years to come.
One for Coach Campbell, following on from the sort of conference chat and whatnot. Do you sometimes feel that rowing is always sort of like an afterthought when it comes to conference realignment, when you've got some of the bigger sports like football and basketball perhaps dictating the scheduling or the conferencing based on incomes and everything that they can bring in?
I mean, that's a great question, and I don't want to speak on behalf of all rowing coaches, but I will tell you, I think a lot of the conversations that I've had unfortunately do circle around that. It is, the revenue driving sports are what dictating a lot of what's happening. And I think, even what we're seeing right now in the Pac-12, with the Mountain West and the WCC, there's going to be some changes going on over there. And I was just having a conversation earlier today, like, well, hold on, wait a second. All of a sudden, Pac-12 has 3 rowing schools again. What does this mean to the WCC? I mean, there's obviously a lot of questions there. So, yeah, I'm certainly not by any means an expert in it, but yeah, I mean, we all know that, football is important to bring in money for the school. And so a lot of those decisions are going to be based along that.
And then one for Coach Conley. I mean, you've touched already about some of the racing that you've got coming up. I think, what does it mean to your athletes to get that opportunity to race against relatively unknown programs with Oxford and Ukraine you'd also mentioned, but also just touching on perhaps your decision for racing ahead of the trials this year as well?
I think it gives an added level of motivation for them. We came back this year, like I said, with a much better grasp of our fitness and much better grasp of the rowing stroke we're trying to take, and I think that all just speaks to how excited they are about the race schedule that we've kind of set up. And the unknown is usually the scariest part, I think, for any athlete. And so when you have that opportunity, I think it's a great learning opportunity for them to line up against the athletes that could be better than you. But it's also that opportunity is at the same point to stay focused in your boat and just see what your boat can do, and then see what the results end up being at the end of the day. And then pivot if you need to. And we have the time between High Point and Head of the Charles to make some adjustments if we need to after that race. And our top, we're only taking the top 2 athletes or top 2 boats to the High Point. So I think it's adding that level of competition within the squad that we need, that we really haven't seen the past 2 years. And so we need that inner squad competitiveness to keep rising, and that's what we're seeing, which is great.
Mara, obviously Texas was Dave O'Neill as a coach had a huge impact on you. I know you talked about that in one of your previous media days as well. I saw, looking back at the archives. Just was wondering about his impact and how really, you being a head coach now, I know you were at Texas for a good amount of years, really shaping that program, but what's it been like for you now being at UCF to hold down the fort?
I mean, I've always respected Dave a ton from when I rode for him to working on his staff for 9 years, and then taking over a program. You just realize, oh boy, okay, like it's no joke, really. Like, it's the difference between making suggestions and making decisions. The weight is so much greater, and I think I understood that. But it's one thing to understand, like, everyone can understand how hard a 2K is, but to really feel it is a whole nother thing. So, like, the one being in the chair, making the decisions, and just having to trust that you're trying to make the best decisions that you can, and hope that everything you've absorbed and picked up from someone who is so good at what they do and is such a good student of the sport and learn. And he definitely doesn't do things the way he definitely doesn't do things this year how he did it 3 years ago, how he did it 5 years ago. Like, always adapt, always learn, and trying to bring that in without also, one thing he talked about a lot is like not going down crazy rabbit holes, not letting yourself get too far from what you believe in and what you're about, and not getting distracted. I think it's, as a head coach, there's no one to bring you back the way that when you're an assistant coach, and if you kind of go down a weird rabbit hole with your kids' technique or a training idea, there's someone there to be like, no, this is what we need to be doing. But now you're the one making those decisions, and I really value my relationship with him, because even before this phone call, I just got off a call with him just to see how things are going. And it's always a good reminder of like, what's important, what do we need to be doing, and how do we take the next steps, but how do we take the best steps forward that we can. But ultimately, I think the scariest thing or the hardest thing about being a head coach is you don't really know how you're doing until maybe you go and race or till we get to May. And so and then you have to look back and decide, okay, what decisions were good and what ones need to be changed. And I think that's the gravity of being a head coach that you don't feel even as an associate head coach. Even though I feel like I had a lot of responsibility at Texas, it's nothing compared to being in the driver's seat.
Thank you, Coach. Is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall. Hello, coaches. My name is Lauren. I'm just going to be mediating those meetings, these Zooms for us today. Thank you all for being here, and we're just going to start with each of your opening statements. So just introduce yourself and what you're excited for, looking forward to this fall, the season. Thank you for being here for the media and the coaches. So we can start with Tennessee.
Well, thanks for having us. I think Dave said it when we jumped on the call, but we love that you guys are reviewing rowing and the different conferences and what's going on across the board nationally. So thank you for having us all. I know that I speak for the schools in the SEC conference. We're super excited because we just had the SEC conference name our championship, and we were just there at a meeting this past week, which was pretty awesome, getting organized for an awesome championship. So we're really looking forward to hosting, having the SEC host that championship and have our first ever kickoff, and broadcasting that will be awesome as well. So, but as for Tennessee specifically, we're kicking off the year, well, and not too crazy. It's always a little slow in the fall when we're not getting going too quickly of people coming off of, world championships in their designated countries and racing and representing. And so we're, back at Tennessee now, started school and hit the ground running, but just enjoying the fall, getting set up with classes and enjoying some of the fall, which is pretty nice. Got beautiful weather, great rowing, and just kind of enjoying that. So that's what's going on at Tennessee.
Thank you, Coach. We'll pass it over to Texas.
Sure. Dave O'Neill, head coach at University of Texas. And also, thanks for putting Hudson and for y'all. Thanks for putting this together and being here. Going back to last spring, last spring worked out pretty well. We're certainly happy with the way things we're obviously happy with the result, but maybe more importantly, we got the result because of the work that we put in, the way the team came together. Was really impressed with all of it, of how the team did, how they performed, and I think how they performed on the final day was really fun to watch. Coming into this year, I mean, I think with our program now, everyone understands what the expectations are. We sort of a theme for us this year has been like, there's no guarantees. Just because we're here, just because you wear the burnt orange doesn't mean you're going to be good, and there's no, or they're going to finish ahead. So we know there's some big challenges ahead, and we had some really good leadership last year. There were 5 rowers plus the coxswain, so 6 people from the first 8 graduated. And so in one respect, that seems like, oh man, like there's some big shoes to fill, and we're going to be down. But just even from the previous year, we had the same thing in 2023. There were 5 rowers and a coxswain that graduated and moved on, and then we rebuilt the program. We rebuilt that first 8. So I think there is some encouraging signs right now in terms of even though we've been only in our 20-hour weeks for less than a week now. We just started on Thursday. But there's some signs that we can do pretty well. And echoing what Kim was saying, like, being part of the SEC, we had a 2-day meeting earlier this week, Monday and Tuesday. We just finished that up yesterday afternoon. For me, this is the 3rd conference that I'm now a part of, certainly the Power 5, Power 4 being part of the Pac-12, Big 12, and now SEC. And I could say that just being part of the SEC and how engaged the SEC is, like, it's impressive. It's clear that the SEC, that rowing is going to be important to them, and that they want to put on a good show at the championship. So that was great to see, that it wasn't just checking the box, like, okay, we'll figure something out, we'll do a championship. You guys just put it together. There's some real signs. And even just talking about growing the sport within the SEC, there was some encouraging signs. So I think the state of rowing in the SEC, I was, interviewed at something for this summer with, and they're talking about, hey, the SEC and rowing, like right away, the SEC is the strongest rowing conference in the country. The SEC, it's the first year of the conference, but already it's the strongest rowing conference in the country, with from last year's NCAA, coming in 1st and coming in 3rd. The SEC is well represented. So right away, we're a power conference. So we even though there's 4 of us, it's pretty strong. So looking forward to what's ahead.
Yeah, we are super excited about the 24-25 season. We have a ton of athletes returning from last year's team, and we are really excited about the work they put in this summer and how they've returned to campus ready to attack their training and make their technical progress. So far, we've been seeing some really good stuff in the small boats, and we're looking forward to growing over the course of the year as we prepare for the first SEC conference championship in May.
My name is Sarah Trowbridge, and I'm with the University of Oklahoma. And, I don't know what the others have felt, but I imagine with the graduation of the larger class with the residual fifth years and from, COVID waivers, that was a big departure. And then we have room for really impactful freshman class coming in and for a lot of leaders stepping up. So it's been really fun and the culture is good. The athletes are enjoying the work, which is nice to see. And I think people are just happy to train and get ready through this fall season, get ready for spring, excited to be in the SEC, looking forward to creating the experience and the championship and the standards that we all think rowing can have. And the athletes feel that and want to be a part of it. And so we're just thrilled.
Awesome. Thank you, Coach. We'll pass this along to media so they can open up for questions. Media, I would like you just to introduce yourself before you ask a question at the very beginning. And if you do have questions, you can just raise your hand on the Zoom. Fraser?
Fraser Innes, Junior Rowing News from across the pond, as the accent betrays me. Both of you have had some significant representation on the global level over the summer. And I was just wondering with how you deal with that, focusing particularly, I'm going to pick out an athlete because I came across her exploits while prepping for the World Champs. But Holly Davis of Ireland was the Olympic reserve for Ireland, raced under 23s, and the following Monday had her first day of classes at Texas. So how do you manage, someone coming off a summer quite like that?
Yeah, good question. And that was, we were certainly well represented in up in St. Catharines. So we did start classes, like Holly and the rest of them, they finished up on Sunday and the first day of classes was on Monday. We did nothing as a team that first week whatsoever. And then the following week we started workouts, the 8 hours, but anyone that raced in St. Catharines was not allowed to come. And then the following week, so they had 2 weeks doing nothing, they weren't allowed, and even like the team was doing some optional workouts together, and we made it clear you're not allowed to go to anything, maybe go for a walk. And then we started, they started being integrated to workouts. So someone like Holly and I think some other those kids that raced all summer long. So not just Holly with the Irish team, but the GB under 23s, they were going they started workouts, we finished NCAAs and I think we finished NCAAs on Sunday and they started going on Tuesday and they didn't have a day off, all the way until St. Catharines. So those kids are pretty fried as well. So it's been slow going. I think those kids that raced at St. Catharines, the first time they did anything on the erg, or anything recorded on the erg was not until last Friday. So they had almost a month of just, I'd call it working out and not really training, and so Holly being a freshman, so now that we're into the 20 hours and essentially 12 workouts a week, but there's certain workouts for us that the freshmen are not allowed to come to because they during the fall semester, they're not allowed to come to a couple workouts during the week in the afternoons because they need to just make sure that they've got their feet under them, academics are going well, being in a new country, having a roommate, all that sort of issues. So, so I guess Holly seems to be doing well. She was in a double this morning, sort of familiar territory for her, and her double was pretty good. Yeah, and I think today might have been like the first workout on the water that they were still only 22, 23 strokes a minute, but that any sort of competition, some competitive environment. So there's almost been a month of just slow going for them.
And we have some similarities. We had a freshman race over for Australia and came back and Monday hit off start school, right? So they were late coming in, and some of our incoming freshmen, just, same thing as Texas, like, hey, take some rest, don't show up to practices, get school underway. If you want to take a walk, you can, but that's about it.
Yeah, question for both coaches, actually. With the new conference and how it's been realigned, as we mentioned, only 4 in the SEC. Do you think that's an advantage or a disadvantage to you guys compared to some of the bigger conferences like Big Ten, for example?
I think it's not a disadvantage for us. I mean, we really focus on where we want to be at the tournament, where we want to be nationally. And I think as long as we have a competitive conference, which obviously, like Dave mentioned, we had, he was first in the country last year, and we came in at number 3. So as long as we're there with enough teams pushing each other, I think that's all that matters. And I think one of the most important thing that matters to us as a program is just having a good race experience, having a good conference experience for the student athletes. Just, they talked a lot about at the SEC championships. They talked a lot about just feeling lifelong memories and having great racing and great experiences. And that's what really matters to us going into NCAA, is being able to practice the lineups, being able to practice on a great race course. We really are pretty choosy on the race courses we go to make sure they have, just have excellence when it comes to hosting championships. So, we have it hosted at Oak Ridge, Tennessee, this year coming up in, 2025, which is awesome, right here at home. And then, we're projecting our next ones out coming, and I can tell you that they're going to be at really great sites. So what's important to us is just having great people to race there. So I think the amount of teams that race in the conference isn't something that is of concern for any of us. We're just super excited to race each other and have a great conference to be sponsoring this.
Going from last year with the Big 12 with 8 teams and now down to 4 teams, competitively, I don't think it's going to change, or the way we prepare for the racing, it's not going to change whatsoever, because, I mean, no offense to anyone, but Texas, Tennessee, Alabama, Oklahoma have typically been the top 4 the last few years. So in terms of the competition, it should be about the same. And I think the one thing that it might feel a little bit different than having more teams, so there might be more enthusiasm, more people around, more spectators. But I think there's a lot of interest and a lot of enthusiasm with the SEC Regatta, the SEC Championship. So I don't think it's going to be a good event. So I don't think it's really changing. The way we prepare, it's not going to change whatsoever. The way we race, it's not going to change whatsoever, because it's still going to be the same competition, if that makes sense. So, and if it was a bigger conference where we would have heats and finals, that could be a little bit different. But we haven't had that for a number of years. And to be honest, I like the show up 1x2K, go for it. I think that's something. There's something special about that.
Kim, one for you. I mean, last season was pretty special, a phenomenal finish at NCAAs. What are you expecting now, having had a season under your belt, going into year 2 with Tennessee? What sort of goals and ambitions have you got?
Yeah, no, awesome question. I think last year was a lot about just getting a team together and really focusing on what we want Tennessee to be and what we want Tennessee rowing to be, and now kind of chipping away and where we want to grow our speed and what we want our program to develop to. So we're pretty excited. Just we have a amazing race schedule set up with really the top 5 and top 5 teams in the country. We'll see them all within the first couple months of the season. So we're pretty excited about that, just getting ourselves ready to go and ready to race. And we're really looking forward to just kind of stepping up our level throughout the season and preparing us for the NCAA championship. So yeah, we're excited, and we're excited, like I said, to host the first ever SEC conference. Having that for us as a platform is awesome. So yeah, we're looking forward to it in the next steps moving forward at NCAAs.
Coach O'Neill, congratulations on the national title last year. That 3rd title with the combination of the retirement of John and Phoebe Murphy means that you are, to my maths at least, have the most national titles among active head coaches. So sort of a 2-parter. Do you have anything on John and Phoebe? I know they've been quite influential in the sport over their combined 78 years of experience at Brown. And then secondly, how do you view yourself within the world of coaching, obviously as a leader somewhat, without trying to make you be too on?
Yeah, wow, that's a big question. In terms of John and Phoebe, yeah, they were certainly the standard, those Brown teams for a number of years. You never, you knew that, they would show up at NCAAs and they were going to be racing they were going to be ferocious racers and racing so fast and so hard. I mean, I think Tro, you raced against them a bit, right? And like they were fierce. And I think all the 7 championships that Brown won in those years were well deserved and well fought. And John's always been a good guy, and welcoming, and I certainly learned a lot from them. Learned a lot from them. I think at times, all of us rowing coaches, at times we felt like we wish we could have learned a little bit more of what they were doing. And I think something with that I appreciated with Brown was there was such a cool, close, tight-knit team, and even kids once people graduated, what happened at Brown stayed at Brown. You didn't talk about what was going on, which I appreciated. And within our program, and I still even use at times we use Brown as a verb, like we're just going to go Brown from now on, meaning we're just going to no stroke rate limits, just race all the time, everything's a competition, and go for it. So I think I certainly that's maybe one of the biggest things I took from them, and just learning it's about going fast, it's about racing. It's not trying to be a stylistic of it, And then, yeah, he just made me, Zach just made me feel old. I used to think like I'm one of the younger coaches, and realizing now that I'm not one of those younger coaches. I guess I hadn't really thought that what you're saying about the leader in NCAA championships. But I certainly recognize my role in terms of the bigger view and trying to help propel the sport forward. It's not just about I think I recognize now it's not just simply about the competition and trying to win a race. It is trying to move the sport forward and being a good ambassador for the sport. So hopefully, yeah, that's a role that if I am in that role, I'm happy to accept it and try to do the best we can because I'm a big fan of rowing, and I'm a big fan of Division I collegiate rowing in the U.S. I think the standard is really high, and yeah, and anything I can do to try to make it better, I'm willing to do. For sure.
We talk about John Murphy. He was next to us at NCAAs and at the Big Ten Challenge next to our trailer, and he shot me an email on the way home after NCAAs after a 3rd place finish, and he was just like, it's such a pleasure to be next to Tennessee. I sang Rocky Top the whole way home because you guys were just singing it and so happy to race and so happy to row. And it just put a huge smile on my face because obviously he's a legend and we all look up to him for his achievements. And why I mentioned that is you guys made me think about it, talking about John Murphy, because I see that passion in our seniors returning. I see that passion in our incoming freshmen that haven't even been around too long. They're already singing Rocky Top. It's just a really good energy and passion around campus. And so our team is leading really well with our leaders. We have some new transfers as well. So we're super excited. We have returners back from the varsity as well, racing, and they're doing a great job with kind of carrying on what they started last year. So yeah, but the freshmen are already stepping up, which is pretty awesome.
A question to Coach Trowbridge, if I may. Well, the 2 other coaches on the call, I think will be honest, are likely to be relatively comfortable in their NCAA qualification. Your program is more likely to be on the bubble, and with conference realignment, I think we've ended up with one or two more slots for that at-large bids. How do you view this sort of the changing landscape in allowing Oklahoma to make another trip to NCAAs?
Yeah, I think we as a conference felt it was really important to build this championship correctly, and if that means without an AQ, so be it. We want this to be a really strong conference, and it will take work no matter with the conference realignment or not. You have to showcase that speed cross conference, cross regions, and that will be the plan. I think that it's still going to be as challenging as ever to get that at-large bid. The plan is certainly, though, to be doing that, and not just because of the conference championship realignment, but because of all the initiatives we have to be a much faster team.
Yeah. So on Kim's point of the school spirit, and we're in the SEC, so it just means more, I believe, is what everyone religiously says. How do you view that collective spirit beyond your athletic departments? Obviously, Texas won the Directors' Cup last year, in no small part to the contributions of the rowing team. In the fall, when it's football and 2 out of 3 teams on the call are doing very well on the football field, and how the wider athletic department plays into the feeling within the boathouse.
I think that feeling is just so contagious across campus. Like, it means more. I know all of our teams are running around saying it means or, right? Because it shows the resources and the support, shows on the rowing side of things. So obviously, yeah, we have some football teams doing quite well. And being around Tennessee and being around the school spirit is just unbelievable. It really, sometimes I think rowing teams are just kind of off to the side, and not seen or heard a lot. We're really fortunate to have our boathouse right on the river, right on campus, and they're seen and they're heard, and then they get to, go have Saturday morning practice and then run up the hill and go watch a football game and just have so much energy around them and bring up that spirit. And being a part of the SEC that we've talked about a lot on this call is just contagious, passionate energy. And when football does well, when our teams do well, I think Dave mentioned this a long time ago on another podcast. We had Texas was #1 in the Learfield Cup and Tennessee was #3. And that was the same, order that the NCAA finished. We finished 1st and 3rd. And that's because there's a lot of passion around all the sports, and it's just contagious throughout, which is really awesome. So yeah, we're really fortunate to have amazing amount of energy on Rocky Top. And it's definitely doesn't hurt that baseball just won a national championship last spring at Tennessee, and that football is doing quite well.
Yeah, and I'd like to add into that, our athletic directors, oftentimes people are like, oh, athletic directors, rowing, are they really paying attention? Do they care? They care a ton. They are paying attention, they care a ton. And especially when it comes to the Directors' Cup, they care a ton. We had a head coach meeting, I think the Tuesday before we left for NCAAs, or the week before, and our athletic director has it down to the point in terms of if baseball wins another game, if softball wins another game, we're going to do this. And we're at this head coaches meeting, and I'm sitting next to the football coach, Steve Sarkisian, and our athletic director is talking like, well, we're in a good shape for the Directors' Cup if rowing and if O'Neill does what they're supposed to do and they win. And I'm like, and the football coach leans over to me, he's like, sucks to be you, huh? Like, you're expected to win. And I'm like, yeah, but of course, because he gets it, like, it's not that easy to win. And but so within all of our coaches and hear the enthusiasm for the whole athletic department, you can tell whether it's Oklahoma or Tennessee, like, there's real enthusiasm for the entire teams, and there's enthusiasm and at times pressure that comes with it, because we understand that we're part of something bigger within the athletic department, and we have a role to play. So everyone they're part of something bigger within our team, and then we're part of bigger something within the athletic department. So it's cool.
Moving across from the Big 12 to Alabama's natural home in the SEC, it's a conference that doesn't have an automatic qualifier. But with all due respect, with the Texases and the Tennessee sort of recent levels, it would always have been an at-large bid anyway. How do you feel the conference change puts you in a position to attain that at-large bid to NCAAs?
I don't think our path to the championship really changes that much. Our path to the championship is going to be through how we compete during the regular season, who we compete against, and how we do against that competition. At the end of the day, when the selection committee is selecting crews, it's going to come down to, who you raced, who they already see as a part of the NCAA championship field, and whether you beat any of those teams. Us racing Tennessee, Texas, and Oklahoma certainly doesn't hurt us, because our point of comparison at the end of the year is going to be against, 2 teams that are going to be fighting for the podium. And we don't plan on sitting still and not trying to catch them up. So I don't think it changes for us very much at all.
There's quite a spirit on I imagine on campus right now with a new football coach and it going very well. A strong basketball program last summer. How does that whole athletic department work together? Sort of rising tide raises all ships style motion in Tuscaloosa.
Absolutely. The thing that we are really identifying is the reason the teams are successful here is because the athletes are cared for by so many people, and it's a genuine level of care from our athletic director, all the way, again, all the way down to the people who clean the facilities. There's a lot of pride in what is being done here and the level of success people are striving to achieve. We have a great relationship amongst our head coaches. There's a lot of support from our athletic director at the top. It is really powerful when you're a prospective student athlete and the athletic director of our university wants to meet you, learn about you, and connect with you in a way that lets you know that they want to see you succeed. So that's what makes this place special, is really the people who care about seeing you grow as a student and an athlete, and ultimately, achieve success competitively at the highest level you're capable of. I said this at our coaches meeting a couple of days ago. The interest in our area about rowing has just grown because of its connection to the SEC conference. The more congratulations that we got and the more press interest we've received because we're an SEC sport has been really exciting. So I think there's definitely an interest in what's going on within our conference and an excitement about the competition that we're going to have.
And this kind of goes for the SEC championship. Granted, that's going to be the first, and I'm excited for it, but has there already been any talk about that at all and what that looking like? I mean, I guess it kind of goes to any of the coaches. If you have any where it's going to be, when it's going to be, is that discussed yet? I don't know if you want to share it out to the public yet, but just curious if that's been.
Great question, Hudson. It will be Sunday, May 11th, 2025 in Oak Ridge, Tennessee. The racing is going to be done between 9 and 11 a.m. It'll be broadcast on the SEC Network or SEC Plus. Jill, I don't know if I'm speaking out of line here. Or 9 to 10 or 10 to 11, or whatever window works, and the window is going to be adjusted to fit for television. So next year it's going to be Sunday, May 11th, and then moving forward. And that is 3 weeks before the NCAA championships for 2025. Moving forward, it'll be the 2 weekends before. But next year it's going to be in Oak Ridge, and then to be determined after that.
Hudson, I'd just like to jump in and say that, Dave mentioned earlier that the SEC just really does, when they do things, they want to do it well. So they, for 2 days straight, just kind of hammered on us, like what makes a good rowing championship, which is really awesome for us to hear, because we obviously don't always have that opportunity to have such an impact on what makes an amazing championship from the coach's perspective and the student athlete's perspective. And so that was just, phenomenal to hear. And I think, as Dave mentioned, like our athletic directors really do care, and the SEC championship really does care. So they're like, yeah, we're putting you on TV. We want to get the best announcers. Who are the best announcers for your sport? What's the best setup with the tents? What's the best setup with this? What is that? What is this? The SEC is just learning, because they want to produce and put it on TV. They want to, do the best they can for rowing, and that just awesome. I mean, that's just unbelievable. That is really fantastic for the sport of rowing. So we're super excited about that.
Is there going to be any big races throughout the spring that you guys are going to be attending? I know that Dave went to obviously his Crew Classic in the spring, but any like invitational races set for the spring that will be pretty exciting to watch outside of maybe, dual racing?
Us in Tennessee will be at the Big Ten Invite, and then we'll be at the Longhorn Invite with Texas. So I think those will be 2 awesome and well done races.
Yeah, just like Sarah said, the Big Ten Challenge is going to have some new teams, like you said, because the Big Ten obviously has a lot more teams. So programs coming out from the West to show up there. And Florida is going to be pretty huge. And then we're hosting our first ever Rocky Top invite down at Oak Ridge. So a little good test run before the SEC championships as well. So that'll be new, and besides the duels that we're having. So yeah.
Thank you, Coach. Is there any more questions from the press at this time? If not, thank you all for being here, and I hope you all have a very successful fall.